Yes, I'm welcome to the Celtic Sunday Blether. I don't know how long I've been waiting there. I've just realised I had like 20 students round it. Oh, about 10. I say 20 just for dramatic effect. There's about 10 fucking randoms round in my gaff last night. I've just realised my router that I use for doing the stream is completely unplugged and not working. So I'm using the main router that I just use for work. So apologies if I've just been sitting there like a fanny for the first 5 seconds. I apologise. Welcome along to the Celtic Sunday Blether. It is a treble winning Celtic Sunday Blether, and I'm joined by the face that runs the place, or so I'm told to say that, Reegan Stevenson. The judge, Marc Kearney, and Johnny Logue as a wee Bhoycie Bus bonus joins us as well, fresh from wearing the Bumblebee top in Washington, D.C.
Aye.
And I actually think, if I'm honest, that shirt you're wearing eclipses it, mate. That is an absolute belter. That's got to be, that's got the cheekler around the sleeves.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Oh, no, you're rocking that, mate. Marc is in the original Bumblebee kit. That takes me back. I just reminds me of George Cadetti. Collar up. You remember that? That is exactly how he used to do it. And Reegan, you look like Harry Kane. But hey, it's not your fault, mate. It's not your fault. Anyway, we'll do all that good stuff and we will crack on. Like, subscribe, share, slag my hair. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like all you treble winners are, then you can do so. It's $1.99 a month, but we do not care if not, because the content's always free. But a big shout out mainly to our main sponsor, ED Pharmacy. And this is where it gets interesting. Remember and use the QR code. If you want to be a treble winner, scan your phone on that QR code, and it could be a quadruple treble you end up doing at the end of affairs. It's edpharmacy.co.uk. Remember, it's same day delivery, 7 days a week if you're in central Scotland, and next day delivery if not, for all your erectile dysfunctional issues you may or may not be having. You might just be a randy bastard. Get involved.
You might be getting more job opportunities than Big Ange.
Well,
but you don't meant to see that.
Well, we've all got a hard on for this season because it's been, Judge Kearney, a treble winning campaign yet again. Because, and it's so easy to take it for granted. I was trying to put it in perspective yesterday, going, when O'Neill won his first treble, it was a surreal moment. Now, and this isn't the youth's fault, by the way, or the younger generation's fault, Marc. It's not their fault. But it is now almost accustomed to what Celtic do. And it's like, it's a tick box exercise now, winning a treble. That was never the way before. Like when we won it the first time round, and it'll be the first time in your lifetime as well, it was like a surreal moment. You went, wow, this is the Holy Grail. Now it's almost like, what do you mean we didn't win a treble? What are you talking about, mate? And I wonder if you've got a better way of describing how these instances occur and whether is it fantasy land we're in right now? Is it just the reality? Or are people maybe taking it for granted too much?
I think there's a bit of everything there, Bhoycie. I think there's a wee bit of truth in the matter. We're all kind of like on this crest of a wave now with Celtic. Even if you take the COVID season and you reflect on it, it was one bad season and amongst 5 trebles in 7 years. You'll probably not see that again. It's like we're passing through a moment in Celtic's history that probably might not be repeated again. If it is repeated, then fantastic. We'll all enjoy it. But when I was a young boy, we won nothing. So to win a treble every season for 5 out of 7 is just unbelievable. And to win a double in between that is just amazing as well. And I think you do take it a bit for granted. Not just because it's like even titles now. Like, what's that? 53 or 54, whatever it was. And you know, if it was a first or a second, we'd be still partying for last week, but we kind of forgot about it by Sunday morning. You know what I mean? It's like, I think when you're a Celtic fan, you do get spoiled, you do. But do you know what? See, when you support a club and you back a club and you give them every emotional bit of energy you've got into it, you deserve the rewards. And Celtic fans who suffered in the 90s deserve this wee bit of reward, I think. And the young mob, the young division, they should enjoy it as well, because as the Rangers fans growing up in the 90s will tell you, it doesn't last forever. So just soak it all in and enjoy it, because you never know.
Marc, I love that point that you've just referred to there. And Johnny, I'll come at you because you'll definitely be able to relate to what Marc's saying there. See, when you actually reflect on the 90s, never did we suffer as much as they have in the last 10 years. There's never been a period of dominance like this. Never. Never, ever has it been seen before. And I think we always go back to the 90s because we go, it was torture. What the fuck are they going through right now? And you can shine up a turd all you want. But Johnny, the reality is, when you keep going, but what about Todd Cantwell? You know you are in the last chance saloon. You know the game's a bogey. Because right now, as Mark says, we had one bad season. And
Aye.
I think there's many mitigating factors in that. And we can, you can reflect on it. And I'm sure the Bustalgia that we do, I think we'll have about 10 folk on because everyone will want to say on that because that season's got so many reasons behind it why it went so bad. Notwithstanding that one, what else has happened wrong? Nothing. We've been impeccable. We've been impeccable since Rodgers took the reins. And we'll talk about Brendan Rodgers a wee bit later. But Johnny, from an older perspective, I don't mean that nasty, but from an older perspective, you can see how rare it is trebles are won. Try and engage us in how special these times are that we currently live in.
Right, the 90s were obviously, in my supporting life, were obviously the darkest days that I've gone through as a Celtic supporter. And I'll tell you now, there was a time in the 90s when you just thought it's never going to change. And I know we talk about football go round in cycles, but it just looked like it was a never-ending cycle. It looked like if you were looking down a dark tunnel, if you did see a light, there was usually a big fucking train on the back of it, coming ready to just take you right off the rails. I just never thought we were going to get out of that. It was so depressing, and I always remember. I know Phil talked about the centenary season the other day there on Friday night in the centenary final.
Oh, he's desperate for you on for that, Johnny. He's like, not doing the Bustalgia show till Johnny Logue makes himself free for 14 hours.
Because that nothing will ever beat my centenary year. That will be, if I live to be 100, that'll be my favourite season ever.
Were you at every game that year?
I think it was at pretty much every game. I think there was.
That's wild.
I think there was the only one I didn't go to. I think was down at Kilmarnock because it was just a bit of a trek. And I don't remember ever being at Rugby Park, but I'm pretty sure I was at every other game. I'm sure it was that season. I can't remember, but we trailed up to Aberdeen for a game, and I think it was that season. It was we got parked up outside Tawdry. We were off the bus. The floodlights were on. We could hear the lads that were already in the stadium. And as I stepped off the bus, somebody said to me, "Game's off."
Wow.
What do you mean the game's off? He said, it's been postponed, waterlogged pitch. I'd finished work Wednesday night. We'd got the bus from Glenrothes up to Aberdeen just to get told the game was off. But I think on the flip side,
God.
when we went up for the rearranged game, it was closer to the end of the season. I'm sure we'd won it that night. We were very close to clinching at that point. We were pretty sure we were doing it by then, But getting back to the night, so what I was trying to say there was that when we watched that, we just had no idea what was coming along the line the next couple of years. We didn't see that coming, just the same as I didn't see getting out of it coming either. It was, and I was wondering,
So then transport us to now.
Bring my boys up to be Celtic supporters. We had to watch the likes of getting beat by Wraith Rovers in a Scottish Cup final. I always remember walking into the kitchen and David's mum saying to me, "It's only a game."
Oh.
I nearly fucking exploded. I've got to get out of this kitchen or there's going to be a fucking murder.
Oh.
So take me to the modern day then, Johnny. How far removed is it from those days? And how much do you want to emphasise how we should appreciate these good times that we currently live in?
They're so far removed from those days, lads, that I don't think you could make a comparison in any way of how it feels. It just feels terrific. You've got to appreciate it because 2 years ago I thought it was all coming to an end. After the COVID season, I thought we're heading back to the 90s here because again we were, and I know it's all false, and I know it was Rangers' foundations is built, as somebody once said, on shifting sands, if you like. But at that time, after we lost
A
that,
deck of cards.
oh yeah, deck of cards, yeah. You know,
Aye.
when we missed out on the 10 in a row, I just thought it's going to be a few years before we get back to anything like this. And you've got to appreciate it, because it can be gone like that, you know, and we don't know what's coming down the line in the next couple of years, but still going to find
No,
out.
that's fair.
It's just, you've got to enjoy it, because when the good times are here, you've just got to, because if we fall into a tailspin, which is what happened to us after the 88 season, it was a classic example of everything's all right, we'll be fine, and we won it. Although it was built on false money and money they didn't have, they still built it and they still done it, and they still put us through purgatory. When you're at a Celtic Rangers game and all you're doing is praying for Celtic to get an equaliser because you've got to go to work on Monday morning.
Yeah.
You know, and to face a ton of
8 points. Great
ridicule,
points.
like, you know, it's just it makes or breaks your whole week, doesn't it? Or until the next time you play them if you haven't won, and that's exactly. And I always went to a Celtic Rangers game back in them days, and it was really more in hope than any real expectation.
Yeah, I get that.
And it was, there were tough, dark times, and I just want Rangers supporters to keep continuing those dark times that we had to endure, and I don't want any of our lads, Celtic supporters, to have to go through that again. And I'm sure there's loads of people who are watching this, whether live or whether they watch it in the next couple of days, will agree with me and Tyler. They know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally, mate.
It was purgatory.
Oh, you've nailed it. Reegan, let's go to the other side of the coin, because Reegan is the future, the youth of Celtic supporters, and it's your age, that's your fault, as Cat Stevens once sang. At the end of the day, though, mate, you've never known anything but Celtic is this dominant force. Do you take it for granted, these moments, or were you yesterday in acceptance that this is special times that we currently live in?
No, I don't take it for granted. I mean, as much as I think the baddest moment for me was that Tony Mowbray season growing up, but I mean, if you look back at
Finished
Celtic,
at least 6 points behind, by the way. 6 points behind.
Still,
Aye,
Bet no one believes that. We only finished 6 points behind that year.
but still won a cup as well, didn't we?
So I don't know how many league titles Neil Lennon won in his last 8 games that Mickey Beale's claiming, but I think it's the Neil Lennon trophy if you want to go down that road.
yeah, no, but yesterday was brilliant. I mean, what Postecoglou has done has been absolutely incredible. I mean, like Johnny was saying there, 10 in a row season, I thought, oh no, this is going to take maybe 3 or 4 years to get us up to some sort of level again. But what Postecoglou has done is absolutely fantastic, and I'm just hoping that he stays. But I think in terms of the players, I just want to mention a special mention to the players, because I think if you look at the players that Ange's brought in, I don't think there's a player in that squad that we can say is not bought into Celtic and not bought into the way the squad's going. I mean, look at Jota, look at Abada yesterday. Those guys were enjoying themselves so much. Look at somebody like Johnson, who's only played 20 matches for Celtic. He's absolutely enjoying it so much. I mean, even Starfelt, who people criticise, he said one of the best things in his time was when Ange Postecoglou phoned him and brought him to Celtic Park. So I think all of these players are very appreciative of what they're doing. And one more thing I just want to mention right now is, what about Callum McGregor, Russell? 19 major honours for Celtic. Unbelievable.
It's frightening, Reegan, and I'm glad you brought him up. And I also like your other points, though, Mark, because I'll come at you on this. Celtic, for me, when they had the best players under Rodgers that we had, I think we brought in under an image of Stepping Stone FC. I coined the term on the Wee Fellas podcast, and I said at the time, if we continue to be Stepping Stone FC, continue to accept that they'll move on. I think Reegan's right. There's an appetite for guys of similar ability, by the way. I think Jota walks into Rodgers' team. That's just my opinion, right? I think he walks into it, right? And I go, he's not looking at Celtic. Yes, he'll be acutely aware there is an opportunity, right, going forward. But I think Reegan's right. These guys, whether we find it difficult to accept or not, I think they've bought in to Celtic FC, not Stepping Stone FC. Callum McGregor being the pillar of it. But what's your thoughts on that? Because I think Reegan's got a good one there. The guys that have signed seem to be quite invested in all this as well, and maybe not being brought in with keep your other eye on the exit door and keep one eye on the park.
Well, maybe that's what Ange said when he was mentioning the fact that he signs men, not just the football players. He signs their personality first as well, and I think that's key to Celtic, because not just because you can sign somebody who's a good football player, but see if they're a bottle job, they're not going to work at Celtic. But also see if you're a football player who's just got a bit of arrogance about you and knowing the right way, you're not going to fit into Celtic either. You've got to buy into the club, you've got to buy into the fans, buy into the culture, because at Celtic it's different than playing for almost any other club. The Rangers are the exact same, to be fair to them. You've got to put everything out in the park, you've got to leave every ounce of energy you've got, and that becomes a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week effort by the players. And you heard Callum McGregor mention it yesterday. He said that the fans only see the 90 minutes on the park. They work the day Monday to Friday. The players deserve it as well. And I really appreciate that fact that the players are putting in everything they've got for this club, you know what I mean? And that just shows you that they are. And they are all in, as the slogan says. Whether they're all in forever is a different matter, but they're all in. And I think you can only be in here and now at Celtic, because all you got to do is look at
spot on.
We can buy a new player and you can be replaced, and we can't expect players to give it 100%, and then the minute we buy a player who's an ounce better than them, just to push them aside, you know what I mean? There comes a time where these guys will move on, and we've got to just be thankful for what they've done for us. It's not always the case that they move on and they'll find something better. And if we've got a group of players who are good enough to play for Celtic, the guys like the Jotas and your Hatatis and all the rest of it, and they're totally in love with the club, they're going to get an extra inch out of these guys. And I think you've got guys in the park who are representing Celtic, not just as a football club, but as a mentality. I think you've got a winning formula there, and couple that with a manager, the ability of Ange or Brendan Rodgers, and that's a winning machine. And I think Celtic have did that the last maybe even 7-8 years better than anybody else. And for anybody in this day and age where the money is so vast, for anybody to dominate a league in the way Celtic have is a credit to Celtic, because Rangers could have spent as much money as they could have done just now and overtaken us, because they've met us pound for pound. Celtic have just spent more wisely, signed better individuals, and scouted their management a lot better. And that's to the credit of Celtic. And I think we've noticed the new when we're sitting. We'll get to it, but we've noticed the new when we're sitting reflecting on what might happen in the coming weeks, how good we've had it. Because, as I said earlier on, and you asked John the same question, it's moments like this or days like this that you've got to realise just how good it feels, because the other side of it is so dark. And Celtic earned every last ounce of this celebration, because the dark days makes the brighter days better, in my opinion.
Mark, you've nailed it. You've absolutely nailed it, my man. That was well said. I actually feel at times, as I've got older, I get the joy more than I used to. For me, Johnny, it used to be relief. Utter relief. And if you got beat, as Mark says, you don't know how dark it gets. It's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. And it used to be resisting that by Celtic achieving something that I was actually just chuffed with. What is it? I do think, I'm not an old person, but I'm 35, still got it, by the way. Right, but I do believe, no, all right. But I do think, as I've slightly matured, 1%, 2% per year, I'm beginning to go, do you know what? I want to bask in this a wee bit. I want to enjoy it. I want to appreciate it a wee bit. I don't want to just go, thank fuck we never got beat. Or thank God that's happened. I don't want to just be thankful. I want to be enjoying it. I actually go, look at these guys. Look at those players' joy. And I think this is where it comes down to what Reegan was saying. The investment from the players is 100% there, mate. That I don't, whilst they're undoubtedly in any team, even the Bhoycie Bus team, Egos have to play a part because you cannot be yourself without having a wee bit of bravado. You cannot do it. It just doesn't exist. You have to have self-belief. And I think that when you see the moments of joy, what you then see is a team goal. And it's a team that achieves something together. And that means so much. There's no solo, like, it's all about me stuff, you know? Johnny, I'll come at you first on it because we're going to move the topic on. Yesterday was a fantastic day. The oldest trophy in world football was lifted yet again for a Scottish record. It was a record treble winning time. And yet, all week, we have had to do this under a dark cloud. A dark cloud of the manager maybe off, maybe in. Is he all in, as the narratives say? Or is he playing poker with us all? Where do you stand? We've not had your opinion yet this week, Johnny.
I'm one of those ones that at this moment in time, I'm hoping and praying for the best, but I'm prepared for the worst. What do you think? I think he's going. Right now, as soon as there was any doubts about Conte at Spurs, I started to think they'll come. No, I didn't think to myself they'll definitely come for him, but I thought he's definitely the type that they need.
I didn't think that at all.
And then
when
Spurs
Reegan would look at Ange.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. All right, I'll tell you why now, and then I'll say something else. Is that Spurs they're a basket case of a football club, right? And Ange Postecoglou is just exactly the type of man to say, that's a gig for me. He done it with us at the end of the day, didn't he? You know, we were a basket case when he came.
I agree with that. I didn't think Spurs though would look at him. That's what surprised me, to be honest, because there's a snobbery, and we all know that.
Yeah. Well, there's a snobbery, yeah, there is. But the only thing that made me think that they might not come looking for Ange is, all right, we know quite publicly they appear to have had at least 2 knockbacks from 2 guys who, I'll be honest with you, because I don't watch an awful lot of European football, and I'd never heard of the Feyenoord manager, and I didn't really know too much about it. If you'd asked me 6 months ago who's the manager of Bayern Munich, and I'd have struggled to tell you. But
yeah, the Feyenoord manager, what was he called? Slut?
Feyenoord and a Slot or somebody, is it Nagelsmann or something from Bayern Munich? But I did think that the only thing that made me think that they wouldn't look at Ange Postecoglou was that, I suppose, that snobbery. They've gone for Mourinho, serial winner, sacked him the week before a cup final.
The League Cup final, yep.
They then went for Conte, another serial winner, a basket case in himself, like. And I just thought, if he decides to take a change of direction and give somebody some time and actually back in and be prepared to build a team, then he'll come looking at Ange Postecoglou. And if he does, Ange Postecoglou is exactly the guy who would say, I can do that. We've spoke about it 1,000 times on here. He jumped on a plane, he came over from Japan with nobody. That's the type of guy he is. I can do that. He's got the bollocks to back himself. I mean, I'd had a quick look on some Spurs sites this morning, and you're reading the same things from Spurs supporters as we were kind of thinking when Ange got here, and when the press and other supporters were saying, gone by Christmas. I'm reading the same things about it now. And he's just the type of guy who'll say, I'll go there and I'll just show these bastards.
This is the thing, Johnny.
But what convinced me he was going to go was the man sitting next to you on the screen here when he dropped his bombshell last week, 2 weeks ago. The Australian lad who's worked with Postecoglou. I don't know exactly what his job title is, but
he's the same agent as well, John. He's got the same agent as Ange,
Yeah,
that's just been picked up in the last few days. Have you noticed that?
Reegan
told us about the City Group link 2 weeks ago, and that is a fact.
That's just what I was going to say. Was in the 2 years that Ange has been there, I've hardly heard an agent getting a mention. I've certainly not seen him photographed with an agent, and I've certainly not seen him photographing an agent at Celtic Park. And he has been there the last 2 weeks, hasn't he?
Yes.
As soon as Reegan said, this guy's at Tottenham, he's got the links, blah, 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 I thought, he's going to go there. Because if you go into a job and you need to make an impression, I don't know exactly what this guy's job title is, but if he needs to make an impression, he's going to go and get what he knows. Football managers do it all over the world, don't they? They sign a player. They've got the favourite players. They'll go after them and go and get what they know to do because they know they'll get the job done for them.
I get that. I think, Reegan, we're in a position where stories are spun for a reason. And the one story we can definitely put to bed, and I think me and Marc kind of vaguely debated it on Thursday, was this is Scottish media trying to derail the treble. There is no dog in the fight when it comes to Spurs Extra and these other Spurs podcasts, right? There is no dog in the fight for them when Celtic play Inverness Cali. They don't give a shit, right?
No.
So there's no angle. There's no, we're trying to derail Celtic winning a treble. The reality is they have got wind of a story which I believe has been pushed from the club one way or another. You know, the same way you could maybe believe that Marc Hughes is going to be the next manager of Celtic, you know. But, you know, some people get told things. Some people get told things and they swallow it and they want to spit it out. They can't hold their wisht, as they say. However, I think if you look at the reaction that the Spurs fans have had towards Ange, I was actually in the same camp as them 2 years ago. Can't deny it. I can't be, you know, a hypocrite. I completely was in that same space. But now I almost feel defiant about it. I'm almost like, see if he does go there, I'll be checking every single result by then. I'll be watching the match of the day, and I'll be supporting him to just do what he did to me and prove every fucker wrong. Not because we want it, though. The next thing is, Reegan, if the stories are true, and I know the wee fella's been very active on his texts, because he might not like it, but I can to them still. Oh, aye. He's still talking about sources, the beauty of sources. I know fucking everything, mate. Right? I get told all this shit. Too many folk like to laugh at him. And if you were to believe him, then it's still Luis Enrique is number one. I think when it comes down to it, Ange hasn't been offered anything. There is a list of people they would like. I think Ange is high up that. I think if it comes to a straight shootout and both of them say we would take the job, I still think it'd be Luis Enrique. So now the question is, Reegan, what space do you find yourself in if Ange were to turn it down and then resume all responsibilities at Celtic? Would you be confused by that, or would you go, fair fucks to you, mate? I would speak to him as well.
No, he's been doing it. If he goes there and he goes for an interview and he's no totally on the Spurs job, then Celtic fans will welcome him back and welcome back with open arms because, like you said there, he's done a fantastic job. And I think sometimes people think it was the Scottish press that's done this story, but I think you're spot on there, Russell, in terms of the big people that are saying it. And I think in terms of Ange as well, I said this to you this morning, see if Ange goes to England, he'll be the first Australian manager to manage in the Premier League. That is some achievement from a man from Australia. So I don't think that I think Ange has been totally truthful for the whole situation, because for me he's saying all the right surroundings, but he's also not ruling himself out of the Spurs job as well. But like Johnny was saying there,
how fair has the manager been? I think people want to instantly compare it with the rat, Brendan Rodgers, right? They're desperate to do it again, right?
Yes.
But look how he's conducted himself in all of this. I'm proud of Ange. I think I've warmed to him more this week than I have the whole time he's been there, because I think he's conducted the whole thing with real class and real dignity.
Yeah, I think he has, and I've got a question for you guys then, right? Because I've heard this all week on the phone-ins, and I'm sick of hearing it, right? People keep saying, oh, Ange will get an opportunity next season. He'll get an opportunity next season. I don't think that Ange will sit there and go, well, I'll stay for one more year because I'll get an opportunity. I mean, Ange's not going to go to Crystal Palace or Bournemouth next season. The Spurs job's not going to be up next season.
I couldn't agree more. Marc, I'm going to put that point to you just before I do. There's over 200 people watching us live right now. I just want to say a big thanks to you all. This is a busy bus for a Sunday morning. Please do hit that like button, hit subscribe, etc. But Marc, what do you take for what Reegan's saying there? Because it's not like, oh, we'll wait another year and the Spurs job will still be there. Everything's a moving space. You know, and I think we need to be realistic here and go, these opportunities come up once every now and then, and whilst colliding with you being at the peak of your powers. If we only win 2 out of 3 trophies next year, and an 8th team in the English Premier League, say Everton finish 8th next year, just for argument's sake, right? A historical club, they finish 8th. Is that, you know, if Ange only wins 2 out of 3 trophies or 1 out of 3 trophies, he might not even be on their list this time next year. This is the thing. We need to accept that it's all moving parts, and you need to catch the wave when it's there. And I hope you're on the same page as me. I wouldn't blame him either way. Whatever he decides to do, if he stays with Celtic, he's in a fantastic position. If he chooses to times his wage by 5 and compete in the league every elite manager in the world wants to compete in, I'm not going to hold that against him either.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, definitely not. I mean, totally. I've said for a long time on the show, if you recall, that if the money comes and the opportunity comes, then the chances are he will go. And I think the stars have got to align sometimes for people to move on for Celtic and get a good job. And you sell your stock when it's at its highest. And if Ange turns down this opportunity, if it gets offered to him and he says no, he may never get a chance again. He had a gig of that magnitude. I mean, Spurs, in my opinion, is still a pretty big job down there. I think the stadium is like this world. The training facilities.
It's a massive job.
I know. If anybody's watched that documentary on Netflix about them, I mean, or Amazon, the training facilities is just something that we can't even dream of having, you know what I mean? So it's a great job. The infrastructure is just beyond anything Celtic have got and all. But I think that, like, say, in terms of, I don't know if I would let my wife go on a date with another guy and then welcome her back if the two of them didn't go on.
Right.
I don't know if I would be happy. And this is just everything. I think with this situation, the good thing about it is the 4 years will probably have different views, and that's great. In my opinion, I think if he consigns himself to the fact that he's going to go out there and try and get another job, fine, mate. Honestly, good on you. But see if you don't get the job that you're after, I don't think you come back and it's just like, oh, it's just where you left off, mate. I think there's a wee bit you tainted it a wee bit there, just in my mind anyway.
No, I like it, Mark. Mark O'Neill leads.
And you know, I had this conversation earlier on, but the difference for me was, see the Leeds thing, you remember this, at that time it was like purely speculation, stuff in the papers, stuff on teletext and all the rest of it. This is a constantly moving, evolving story that's happening in the space of a week to 5-7 days. And it's been very emotional for a lot of people. With a treble on the line and people are worrying about next season. This was something that Martin Hill put in his book many years later about the actual reality of it. Bhoycie, I think if a deal record broke that Martin Hill was doing an Ellen Road, signed a declaration of interest in the job, and then come back to Celtic, I think a lot of fans would have been saying, hang on a minute here, you're out a date with a guy, you didn't like it, you come back to me. That'd be mad.
There was no Twitter and all that then. There was no socials then. I think
it's totally evolving the story, but we can only live in the times we're in just now, and I feel like the Ange story is different because I think the world was different, boys. I think if the thing happened to be O'Neill just now, we would know that he would down to Leeds. We would know that this has been happening. And I think there would have been a lot.
How do you think it would be reacted to? Just to take you to that space.
I think a lot of Celtic fans would have been the same as me just now.
Right, I agree.
There have been folks saying, like, I respect them. Listen, I will say this. I'm going to shock you. I don't really care if he stays or goes. Do you know that? My biggest concern is, no, listen, because he's going to go. Where is the new or next year he's going to go, right? My concern is with Celtic Day next, because see next season, I'm going to be there, Reegan. You're going to be there next season. Jota might not be there. No matter what happens, I'm always going to be at Celtic Park, right? So who cares who's stayed, who didn't stay? My worry is with Celtic is what Celtic's next move is. Because when he goes, he's all news, mate. He's like fish and chip paper news, and I mean that's he's away. I don't care because I'm not putting my full faith in Celtic and my full faith in love into one man.
I agree with that.
The very second he goes, my mindset will be, right, who's next? which Celtic's move, because when he goes, there's no point. You can't fix a broken vase. It's gone. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Simple as that. It's Celtic's next move is. I think Celtic's next move this window, if he goes, will be one of the most important moves in this century for Celtic, because this will be a position where Celtic have got the money, the financial backing to.
It's a sexy job.
And it's a sexy job. Is it going to be a Martin Neal type appointment, or is it going to be a Neil Lennon type appointment? This is what my worry is. And just
you're right.
But
go on.
But if he comes, if he stays, I'll be delighted. See if he goes, it'll be all news to me. It's as simple as that.
Terry said the same last night.
I'll just ask you then, if he decides. And I agree with Terry. If he doesn't go to Spurs, it'll be because he's probably not offered it rather than he knocked it back. But if he doesn't get offered it and he does stay, would you want him to stay on this 1-year rolling contract?
You won't support him. This is the problem.
Yeah.
This is the problem, John. I mean, Mark discussed this. What's actually happening here is the perfect storm. Because now you've got a situation where Ange stays, we all celebrate, but they've got their oven-ready excuse not to back the manager. They can go, well, you know why we didn't back him.
Yeah.
Because he had his eye on the exit door.
Yeah.
Why would you want us to invest a
20 million pound that guy is going to walk away?
Thank you, Mark. He is spot on. And so now it's the perfect storm. For me, I think you said it earlier on, Mark, you can only deal in the present. And if you deal in the present, this club will evolve.
So you
and if the present means, sorry, you're going to come in 2 seconds, buddy. If you deal in the present and Ange, for example, speaks to Spurs next week and doesn't get the job, that's okay. Deal with him as your manager and back him the same way. Forget that happened. If you can erase that out of your memory, the club will keep pushing on, because I still think, regardless whether he's wanted to go to Spurs or wanted to speak to Spurs, etc., if he doesn't get that job, that doesn't mean his ideas for Celtic are any more misplaced than what they are 6 months ago. He still wants the best for Celtic, and I think he's got a good idea and a pretty good proven track record on how Celtic can accelerate into the spaces we want them to go to. So the problem is, and I get Mark's scepticism, I could not actually agree more. It's scary. I think the board are looking at this going, perfect. Now we've got the ready excuse. Cheers for the season ticket, Mark. Yeah, again, 5%, son. Nice one. Top lad. Didn't buy that Bumblebee shirt off the website, so there's another mark down on you. And by the way, Ange wants to leave, so you're getting a couple of free transfers, a couple of loans for Inter Milan. Enjoy.
Aye.
And that's where it could become again.
So what did he say then? So do you guys actually believe it's better if Ange leaves Celtic for a clean slate?
That's not what I'm saying. No. What I want, Reegan, is Celtic to look at this with the same realistic eyes that we are and go, he deserves the chance to speak to a club that's going to offer him 5 times his wage. He's earned it. He's earned us a fortune, by the way, in the bank balance sheets. He's made us a fortune. He's brought us trophies. He's brought success. And with that comes attention.
Mm-hmm.
We offered him a rolling contract, Reegan. Right? That suited Celtic at that time. In my heart of hearts, I think a year ago, I think he definitely was offered a new deal. In my opinion, the last 12 months, he's been offered a long-term deal, and he's went, naughty. I would have taken the long-term deal at the start, but now I've brought the success. It suits me to not be on the long-term deal. Rodgers, to his credit, did an invincible season on a rolling contract and signed for 4 years after it, sustaining a compensation fee that was brought in, that was in the world record top 10 ever managerial compensation packages, ever, right, at that time. And just kept his options open. But I think that's a flaw in Celtic's part. Because we can say we're all in, but the real question, Reegan, is, were you all in 2 years ago? I don't think they were. Gordon Strachan was brought in after 7 games, 3 wins, 3 defeats, 1 draw. Gordon Strachan, remember, was brought in to supervise. How insulting is that when you now look at what Postecoglou's done? How insulting is that? Why would you sign a new deal for these diddies? They deserve everything they get to a point, you know? And I don't mean that nasty. I'm not trying to be
No, you're spot
hysterical.
on.
I think they deserve it to a point. You go, do you know what? You got played this time. And if Ange was to go, he goes in my respect, because he's still at the core of everything he spoke about this week was about the treble. And that's what Marc went to the game for yesterday. It's why Marc's been at 19 home games this season in the week, in the rain, in the snow, freezing his bollocks off. He has stayed true to all that. And whatever happens next week, he's delivered the goods. Stand up to him.
Yeah, because then I'll ask you then, see in terms of like Dermot Desmond, right? He was at the game yesterday. So do you then think he's then offering Ange a new contract yesterday, trying to persuade him to stay?
Why do you think Desmond was there the other week, Reegan? And these photos, I think we'll go to Marc in a minute because I know you'll have animated opinions on this. Photos, I think, are staged at times. I think if you actually look at Peter Lawwell, there was not a photo of him, mate. Not a photo until that league was won. I hadn't seen a photo of Peter Lawwell since he was given that job as non-executive chairman. Suddenly there's photos of him and Ange laughing. That is absolute PR propaganda at its best, right? Because we're in a good place. Could we filter some Peter Lawwell content in there? That's what they've done. If anyone thinks differently, that's fine, but you're gullible, I'm afraid. Now, the Desmond photo, yes, it looks like it's a secretly taken photo. I also believe that was a statement photo, Reegan. And I think the Desmond photo was, he's heard wind of Spurs, and he is there to take charge. Now, whether he gets charge of that situation, I don't know. But if you want to know the truth, I like the version of Celtic when Dermot Desmond's involved, Reegan. I like it. Because I think we're very ballsy when Desmond's involved. The problem is, he delegates too much. And he delegates to guys who literally, they produce Celtic for their bonus payments, and that is their focus. Then you do not have the best version of Celtic. Desmond is a build. Celtic goes, Celtic! I love Celtic. Let's play with Celtic. I like Desmond's version of Celtic. It's just a shame he's not as hands-on.
There's twice when he has come in really hands-on, and both times it's worked out. Before O'Neill, it was the papers was full. It was going to be Gus Hiddink was going to be the next manager. I think even Bobby Robson was getting floated about at that point. But I'm from memory, I'm sure it was Hiddink that we were all convinced was getting the job until Desmond stepped in and said, no, it's him that wanted to get O'Neill. So he went and got O'Neill. And the stories are it was the same with Rodgers, wasn't it? It was Desmond who made the move, says, we're going for Rodgers. So that's twice. There's twice that he stepped in with his
Robbie Keane.
Right?
Robbie Keane. We got Robbie Keane because Dermot Desmond decided, what the fuck are you all looking at? Why are you signing Marc-Antoine Fortuné with all my money? £3.8 million, Marc. And he went, watch this. I want Robbie Keane. I'll get Robbie Keane. And see what
Dermot Desmond. Celtic start to play the real game, you know what I mean? And you don't make the decisions he's made in his working life and his financial history without being, you know, very astute what you're doing. You know what I mean? The guy is absolutely, I mean, he's a billionaire. He's a self-made billionaire. He didn't start off like Donald Trump with 500 million and turn into 504. You know what I mean? He's made a lot of money for himself and his family. And Joe Sutton, he's still Celtic's biggest ever shareholder. I think he owns about 35%. And when he gets involved, Celtic tend to do good things. But the worry is, you mentioned there a minute ago, I mean, Lawwell, for talking sake, as a single investor, he's one of the largest investors we've got. He owns about $500,000. And we've not got a lot of big single investors. I mean, I said before, our second biggest shareholder is an umbrella company. I think they're called Linsell Train. They own about 20% nearly of Celtic. And they're like people that have got money into Celtic who they don't even know who Celtic are, but they'll just rake in the profits. And if you make decisions based on your profit margin, you'll not make decisions based on Celtic. And Lawwell is not only employed by the club to make decisions on behalf of the club, but also on behalf of his bonus sheets and his
I totally agree with that,
and I don't think Lawwell. And boys, I don't think Lawwell is. You remember there was a Q&A that like Dermot Desmond did by himself a couple of years ago with Jerry McCulloch. He asked the questions and answered the questions himself. That was embarrassing, but Lawwell did the same thing. Lawwell did the same thing with a lot of things. He was front and centre when Celtic were doing good things. Come out with his tail between his legs, hiding behind the Celtic manager in press conferences and at AGMs when the tough questions come in.
Mark, who's the chairman of Celtic?
Is that?
Who's the chairman of Celtic?
Well, the only person that's got that in his title is him. It's him.
Who is? Tell me the truth. Who's the chairman of Celtic?
We've not got one.
So if we don't have one,
He's
who's
a
the their title, their job role? I mean,
the thing of Lawwell is, as you said, it was never to be seen to win the league. I also thought that when you seen Ange and him sitting next to each other, I thought he's adding credibility to the announcement that's coming up. Last night,
mate.
Last night is a photograph of Dermot Desmond next to Lawwell. The Celtic have probably got a backroom team of maybe 10, 12 directors. And these guys are supposed to be higher up the food chain than what this non-executive is. And they're sitting next to the main man in the stadium. Come on. If he's not in charge of that,
it's all a work. I know you hate the wrestling analogies, Mark, and that was quite funny. He was right into it on Thursday night. But the honest truth is, it's all a script. It's all a work, mate. See, when you look at it, you go, these photos are put out for a reason. And the miserable photos yesterday are put out for a reason. Look how disgusted the board were that Ange turned his back on them. You know, this is the narrative they're trying to play. They think we're all stupid. Johnny, we have seen this movie before. The fact of the matter is, we've got a guy who manages to come back. He never left. Let's just rewind 24 months. Now, we talk about the incredible job Ange has done, and I stand by that, by the way. I stand by it. Mm-hmm. But I also stood by every single supporter that said sack the board, and they held up the number of days. Remember? Breaking the COVID rules, breaking the lockdown rules. But you know what? I went, fair fucks. I'm actually in. I believe them. Do you know what happened since then, Johnny? They played musical chairs. The exact same board is still in situ. And now there's not one, but you buy one, you get one free. There is 2 Lawwells now on the board, and they all just have different titles. It's the exact same people. But if you start getting 3 points, if you start getting 3 points in the park, everyone forgets where they were before. And it actually dilutes the argument why they were wanting to sack the board before. Well, I actually felt, I did a bit of digging and I went, do you know what? I agree. I think we should get rid of these guys that are incumbent on that board because I don't think they're doing a good enough job. What I've now realised with Johnny is it's all bullshit. It's just if Celtic lose games, sack the board, sack everyone. If Celtic win football games, everything's hokey-cokey. It's all cool. Everything's okay.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares anymore now. Nobody cares about the fact that if your aim was to get rid of Lennon, fine, you won. You didn't get the manager you wanted, but you got Ange, and Ange has played the blinder. But then the rest of that board literally changed titles. They just shuffled their seats. And you then ended up with 2 Lawwells. If you told everyone right before Ange came in, Johnny, there's going to be 2 Lawwells in 2 years on that board, and all the rest of the same incumbents, all the rest of the same personnel are going to be sitting still in the boardroom just with different titles. Your job would have dropped. That's where we are right now.
I mean, I heard another podcast saying yesterday, I trust Michael Nicholson so much. I trust him so much. I mean, Michael Nicholson is
He's a puppet for a start.
Michael Nicholson, see who's going to make the next manager appointment? It's going to be Peter Lawwell and Matt Lawwell. It's got nothing to do with Michael Nicholson.
Reegan, listen, see when Maggie Thatcher was in charge, it was a man that was making the decisions, and Maggie Thatcher was just the arsehole standing in front of the cameras. It's the exact same with Lawwell and Nicholson. He's been told what to say and do and where to sit and what direction to turn in. Lawwell's been there, we all know that, and the fact they've got Marc Lawwell there, I know. I mean,
2 Lawwells for the price of 1, Mark.
Is that nepotism?
To you, imagine the bus rolled. I'm sorry to interrupt. I want you to think here where the space you were in 24 months ago, and imagine the judge was part of the Bhoycie Bus podcast. I imagine there was a Bhoycie Bus podcast then 24 months ago, right? Me and you would be having that real chat going, I agree with the fans. Sack them all. Get them to fuck. If I told you, by the way, Mark, see in 24 months' time, 2 years' time, we'll win a treble again, you'd went, right, no chance that's happening. But it has, fair enough. But I went, but all the same guys.
Oh, you'd be raging. And that's why we were raging.
Two levels for the price of one.
That's why we were the only podcast that was raging. We were the only podcast that came out raging when Peter Lawwell came back. We were the only podcast that came out raging when Marc Lawwell came in. Because everybody else has gone like that. I'll take my tea, my biscuits. I'll take my paddy chairs at the women's game and I'll enjoy myself. No, I mean, like the 4 times and that, they've kept themselves true, but a good few of them have turned into right arseholes through this, you know what I mean? Writing books and selling books and doing their own things.
They promised. What Kenny Dalglish said to me, Mark, was Celtic don't hand out carrots.
They don't
give out carrots.
They get tea and biscuits though.
These boys though.
But what we've got to think about, lads, is that Celtic used to be run by basically 2 family dynasties, didn't they?
Yeah.
And
Whites and the Kellys, yeah.
And we're starting to head down that road again now, aren't we?
Well, as you get a Lawwells and you've got the Desmonds.
Yeah.
And the only difference is the Whites and the Kellys weren't that smart enough, especially financially. They need financial power to actually mold Celtic into the way they wanted. These guys have got the power to do it. And the worrying thing for me is, it's like, you look at Celtic as like they're a ship, right? Seeing it going through calm waters, everything's easy, right? No matter what captain you've got on steering that ship, but seeing it start to get a bit chalky and there's a lot of decisions to be made, you need somebody that's fucking bang on the button, ready to make the right decisions. And we've not got guys, I don't think, board level that are strong enough to question the people who need to question with decisions.
You're right, Mark. Let's get Reegan in there.
Sorry, Reegan, mate, I just got it.
No, you're fine. Let's get Reegan's point, because he's sat there and I'm watching Reegan's shoulders roll. He's ready to go. He's ready to go.
So, he's winding up.
It was somebody made a comment there, Russell, talking about Celtic for change. Now, Celtic for change, I mean, that was all great 24 months ago, but you don't hear from anybody now talking about change on the board now. Do you know what I mean? I'm not advocating change for the board right now. What I'm saying is that these guys need to be doing it all the time rather than just doing it when Celtic are winning. Do you know what I mean?
They do. You've got the Whites, the Kellys, and the Logs, mate. We need to get rid of these bastards. You know what I mean?
The Log traders.
Hey, you can throw the Bhoycies in there as well, by the way.
Wait there.
Just because one of them's won a cup, like, you can't let them off, like.
that he means nothing to me now after he beat me at sudden death. Honestly, it means nothing. I don't even speak to him anymore. I don't even know his name. I don't even know my own brother's name after he beat me at sudden death. Honestly, my life's over because of that. It's easy, guys, right, to look, at the wreck that is across the city, if you like, or over your neighbour's hedge, because they're pinning their hopes on Todd Cantwell, right? And that is the best player of all time, and yada yada. He's going to take them, and that's now the template for every signing they now make will be for fuck all and be as good as Todd Cantwell. That, for me, gets the board of Celtic a wee bit of a semi. Reegan, right? It gets them an ED pharmacy membership for a year because they go,
oh, brilliant.
Is that what we're up against? Is that what we're up against? That's what they want, Reegan. They want us in that space. They want us to be, Reegan, in a place where all that matters is beating the shitiest version of Rangers ever. The point for me is, how do we progress, Reegan? If, and I still think it's an if. I'm 50-50 on it, by the way, with Ange leaving. I'm not as convinced as many others are. I don't even care about the body language yesterday. For me, he's been consistent all week, and he was still consistent yesterday. He let the team be the focal point of their successes. Next week, I might start becoming a body language expert. I might start reading into the words. But whilst he's in situ right now, he needs to have his balls tickled, Reegan, to the extent that your objectives aren't just to be better than Todd Cantwell's and free transfers that Ibrox bring in. You have to be European level. And I think that's where his ambitions lie. I don't think he cares. The treble thing was a box ticking exercise, and it's a brilliant one to have. He's in an elite company now. But I don't think that's what he joined Celtic for, Reegan. I think he wants to go next level.
Yeah, I mean, as much as me and you and Marc we get stick for the Moy thing like last season, I mean, as soon as they brought Moy in, I was on here complaining because the fact that we got £40 million in the bank 2 years in a row, we went out and signed Moy, you know, and I hope this summer we can go and spend that money because we need to. I mean, Marc will tell you, see if you're going to the Celtic Park most weeks, see when the big players are going off the pitch. But we've been able to see the last few weeks that some of these players are not good enough. Like Bernabei, who Marc talks about, who we speak about. I'm trying to think of others. Sead Haksabanovic as well. So I think it's about time that we go. We've got a very good starting 15, and then the rest is not up to.
You're right, Reegan.
I would say that is up to standard. It probably could beat Rangers by 10 points next season, but I mean, if you want to strengthen, I mean, take for example, over the past few weeks we've got Ben Summers coming off the bench, we've got David Turnbull. Now, see when David Turnbull was at Celtic, I was a big advocate for him to join from Motherwell. A big advocate, but I think
it evolves, mate.
Yeah, time goes on. Time goes on.
Marc, I'll come to you on this, right? I watch almost all of Ange's interviews, and I find them torture at times, right? Because he doesn't want to do them. But there was a wee glimpse in the open goal when he did the other day, right? I'm going to give you a quote from him. I'm not reading it off a script. I just remember it. And he said, "We sort of improved last summer." Sort of being the key word. We sort of improved the squad last summer. And I went, listen, if everyone wants to listen to his words and then look back at stuff he said 2 years ago and get all nostalgic about it and go, see, he's always here. I listen to his words still in the present time. He said, and if he describes the summer as we sort of improved the squad, does that sound like a guy who was satisfied with the last couple of windows he's had?
No, because he's not an idiot, mate. I think he's... If a guy I think he's very clever in the way he speaks. I don't think he says many things in the media. He's been in the game for 30, 40 years. And I mean, he's seen how things can be twisted. So he says things for a prism where he knows it can be twisted. So see, he's saying like things like, or phrases like kinda. He knows that we could have done a lot better. And do you know something? I think we all know we could have done a lot better. As Reegan mentioned a couple of players there, but
could you tell me the last two windows, what your opinion is on the last two transfer windows?
I think this. I mean, shite. I mean, I don't think you can sit and say like £50 million in the bank, and we've brought in guys. Oh, and we've still sold players and made profit in between that as well. You can't bring in guys like.
Would you describe the summer window as underwhelming?
I thought it was very disappointing because I still feel like Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers were part of season one's plans.
Season one, yes.
I think we've all got that mindset because we've all said you can't. We'll go back to the game, but we all know that they were signed and it was up to Celtic to. So that was season one, right? Have we improved last season, starting 11? Now I said to you, last summer we will start the same team. Come the first
game. You did say this.
And I was said Welsh. If we get Welsh in instead, we get made it worse. You know what I mean? And I tell you something, this went under the radar. I think Matt O'Reilly mentioned it, and I think Arthur Johnson might have mentioned it. But I think two players mentioned the fact that some players have got to be leaving this window, and O'Reilly said, let's just try and keep the spine of the team together. So that just shows you there was players in that park yesterday that might have played their last game. So I think that was Celtic's best 11 yesterday, right? Well, give or take Vickers, right?
CCV, that's the only one.
So if we're going to lose players for that team, we need to go to the next level, right? Now before you start thinking about the managerial circumstances.
So
and you go, was last year's window that good that we can afford players to go? No, I think if we're going to go to the next level, Celtic need to not only strengthen their back, their squad, but we need to strengthen the first 11, and I think that's the case whether Ange stays or no. So we've got a bit of ball coming as well, by the way.
You're right.
We've not focused on just yet. And because we're keeping the positive, people think this is talking about some of this pod, but we've started our talk about how good these days are. and how we embrace it. But the conversations go down to this part, and I feel like it's all hand in hand now. The Lawwell stuff, the managerial stuff, and the player recruitment is all hand in hand. You can't speak about one if it's speaking about the other. And I feel,
spot on, mate.
and it all goes back to maybe 12 months ago, because see if, for talking sake, I'm not just calling him out, but see if, for talking sake, Bernabe was an upgrade for Taylor, then we wouldn't be worried about losing a left back.
So true.
And your spine of your team, I'm going to look at it as a striker, midfield, and defence. We can't afford to lose any first team players for that position.
I mean, I've got a perfect example for you.
It's brilliant, Mark. That was brilliant, by the way.
Thank you,
I
mate.
totally agree with all of that. No, I agree with all of that.
See, Ange, right? Ange got Juranovic, and then he went, no, well, I've got Johnson here, who's a big upgrade. That's what Ange wants to do every single.
How many times can you go to the well, Reegan? How many times can you go to the well of selling a World Cup? You can't have your cake and eat it. This was a Croatian internationalist who guided Croatia, was part a huge part of them finishing third at the World Cup. And that's how he was being described when he was a Celtic player. To then suddenly brush under the carpet and go, we're selling for 7 million, but we've got to go for the MLS. You can't have your cake and eat it. Johnny, we're in a situation where Celtic, I think in the January window, made a profit, having sold their last season's top goal scorer, and again, the Croatian internationalist, Josip Juranovic, who Celtic fans told us was Jesus Christ of right backs. Okay? He went and we won a watch with Johnston. I actually do think Johnston's an upgrade. I do. Right? Just put that out there. But that's not how the narrative was when Juranovic was in situ at Celtic. It was, do you know who he is? Do you know how good he is? So you can't now go, oh, well, he upgraded, when really you were telling me he was world class. World class, we were being told. So we lost a world class player, brought in an MLS player who's never played at this level in his life, never played a Champions League game in his puff, never, a Canadian international. Okay, did well at the World Cup in one game, fair enough. But naturally, you would say that's a downgrade. Giakoumakis to O is a downgrade. O should have been the third striker. He should have been the third striker to supplement the two brilliant ones he had. That's the reality. That's not because O doesn't have a space at Celtic. It's because he's replaced someone who's just better than him, I'm afraid. Then you look at the summer window. The only one that was an outlay for was Bernabe. Haksabanovic as well. Haksabanovic comes in. He is not Ange's guy.
No.
Abelgard comes in the last day of the window. We wanted a guy called Vinicius Souza. That was top Ange's list. I'm going to guess. I'm maybe speaking out of turn. But I'm going to guess that Souza was top of his list. We didn't get him. We got a free transfer for Denmark. Ange let two of his summer signings go within the same season they've joined. Jens and Abelgard. That is damning. Bernabe, he's now knows, isn't as good as the 2 million guy for Kilmarnock that wasn't good enough for the first 2 years he was there, who we've made good enough. And fair enough to Greg Taylor for that. If you look at the rest of the departments that he's strengthened in, who's to blame this guy, Johnny? When you look at those last two windows and go, do you know what? All the sceptical bastards are right. You do not get the support and the evolution when you're Celtic manager you expect when you deliver them money and success.
Yeah, I can tell you one man who wasn't saying Juranovic was world class, and that's the man sitting below you on the screen here, Marc. You were telling us for how long? He's not good enough. He's not world class. I think you coined the Croatian right back phrase that we all use on the bus. I just want to come and say I absolutely fucking hate it. Johnson is an upgrade, but you just said there, boys, we can't keep going back and getting lucky and replacing what are supposed world-class players with people from a backwater, if you want to be disrespectful, especially playing the PRN. You can't keep doing it. We did ask last summer, start the season, have we improved the team? Have we come back bigger and stronger? We said at the time we haven't come back stronger as a first team, but we all agreed that we thought we'd made improvements as a squad.
Well, we fell for it. I fell for it. I thought it was a good window.
Not quite that phrase, but we got that wrong. Like you said, two guys were brought in one window and weren't even asked what window they wanted to go out. The next one, they were just put out it. We haven't improved. We've got to. You're right. So Ange has not been backed in that respect, and it's been one of the reasons why he is looking to go. And that is a worry for me. Is if he's not going to back Ange after what he's done, 5 trophies out of 6 in 2 years, dragged us out the gutter. What they're gonna do with the next man that comes in? And my worry there is how high are they going to look for the next man, or is the next man already in the door? And that's the road I don't want us to be going down.
Reegan, if we want to have the ambitions of Celtic formed in the manager, we cannot have our cake and eat it, as I keep saying. We cannot keep judging a manager who believes in what we believe Celtic can be, but isn't given the tools to do so. And then he leaves for something that believes they could be probably something they're not, which I think is the case with Spurs. They believe there's something they're not.
Yeah.
But you know what? They'll have the courage of their convictions to at least try. And I think Ange looks at Celtic as that, I think he took it, I think he looked at the Celtic situation when he took over the job as opportunity, not the desperate, absolute, I don't even know how to describe it. It was, Celtic were such an empty vessel at that time.
Do you remember?
Why would anyone with a salt take that job? But he's seen opportunity. See now, does he still think Celtics have got that same opportunity, even though he strengthened Celtic's hand?
Probably not, because you said something last week to Marc where this football looks like Brendan Rodgers season 2.
Oh, Jesus, don't quote me, Reegan. I hate when you do that.
And I think in terms of that, like if you look at Brendan Rodgers, the following season, he got. I'm trying to think of the players he got. He got Christian Gamboa. He got Jeremy Tovan. So you've got players like that where I don't want to say this to sound rude, but I don't know if Ange maybe looked at Brendan and went, look what happened to Brendan when he kept getting treble. Celtic just panned him off with some loan players and some decent players to get them by, because all they're interested in is getting better than Rangers. And I'm sure if Ange speaks to managers of Rodgers will tell him. Rodgers will say, look, Celtic are just happy to be better than Rangers. They're not interested in going to Europe.
Yep. So when Ange took on this opportunity, Johnny, he's looked at Celtic and he's went, I think we can make them big. Like, he's saying, I think I can make them a force that they don't realise they can be. But then once you get into, I think Rodgers thought the same, by the way. I think they've seen opportunity in Celtic, not, I've came in to save the day. I think they've went, this will look good when I take them to where they can go. But once you actually get invested, and once you become a part of it, you realise the glass ceiling is created not by the managers, but by Celtic. And once you start pushing against that, you'll find if you want a great manager in there, they won't last long. And the reason for that is there is restrictions, or there is a length of a leash that is placed on these guys, whether you like it or not, that does not meet the demands they need to take Celtic to where the space we think they belong.
That's an obvious and definite fact, isn't it? That glass ceiling is made of damn thick glass, and it's going to be damned impossible for any manager, not Ange Postecoglou. Pep Guardiola would have a job breaking through that glass ceiling with the restricted and limited backing that they give them. The history tells us they'll back them for so long, and then it'll be, we're going to have to put a raid on this because it's going to cost us too much money, despite the fact we've got all this millions of pounds sitting in the bank doing nothing but gathering interest. And I have no idea how much that gathers because I'm no financial expert, but that's all they're interested in. It's the businessmen, and ever since I left school, I've heard people say it's all about the bottom line. And that's as simple as that. We've got a level we'll go to. We'll let that manager take us to that level, and then we're going to pull the plug on it. And if he stays, that's great. And if he moves on to somewhere else, then that's fine. Rodgers, did he have a plan when he first came in? Yeah, the plan was probably get my name back up in the lights and head down to the Premiership, which he took the first opportunity he got at Leicester, which he on reflection, when you found out things later on, you can blame him for doing that. And I'm pretty sure that if Ange leaves for Spurs, which I'm convinced he will do, in a couple of years' time, we'll all sit there and say, yeah, you can see exactly why he done it.
Yep.
You're only going to bounce your head off that ceiling so many times before you get fed up with it.
Mark, I will leave the final word of the Sunday Blether to you. We are treble winners. It is a day to bask in the glory of it. Of course it is, and the sun is out. But there's a realism and there's a dark cloud over the sunshine. Take it away, mate.
Well, first of all, I met a couple of your watchers yesterday, Michael Phil and wee Paddy Clark. So hi to them. Hope you
fantastic. Yes.
Guys, brilliant guys, mate. I had a couple of pints with them. They're really nice guys. So hope you enjoyed their day. Guys, for
love that, mate. Good touch.
What I will say is to every Celtic fan, if I was going to say one last thing, is yesterday was all about the team, and the team might be changing next season, and the guy sitting leading the team might be changing next season, but you're still going to be there. We're still going to be there, and that's all that matters.
Right.
For the next couple of weeks, we're going to find out exactly where our fears were founded, or whether they were just us being pessimistic in Celtic's outlook. I think we will find out fairly quick, because Ange's going on holiday on Tuesday, he says, so I can't see him leading this along too much, because that'll be detrimental, I think, to Celtic succeeding them or backing them in this window. And we'll see, that's one last thing. Yesterday we secured our 5th treble in 7 years. I don't think Celtic will ever secure that ever again, and enjoy these times, because they'll be long lost unless you enjoy them. So, more on the hoops.
Love it, Mark. Mark, the judge, has given judgment. Johnny Logue, Reegan Stevenson, Mark Kearney, thanks so much for joining me today for the Celtic Sunday Blether. Hopefully, it'll be a better show next week when David Logue takes over the hosting, because I am hopeless.